again, I don't want to put words. So it's kind of a layered approach, right? We've got the capacity on the roadway network. You've got title to the road, which, you know, is what it is. And then also it's you're currently building in there today. Neil Communities is building homes in there today, and you're seeking to build additional ones as you attest is allowable by HOA documents and established law.
That's exactly right.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? I do have a few, Mr. Vogler, if you'd please come back before you go too far. The first one is for you. Let me just find my question for you. So, Commissioner Mast asked this in a very nice way, and then Commissioner Cooper, I'm going to use his words to dumb it down for me. And I believe this has already been answered, but I really just, I want to make the question even more simple. So if this neighborhood addition, if Boca Royale East does not happen, if it doesn't get approved, at what point would the HOA get control of those roadways?
Either 2035 or 2040.
So at what point is the projected build out for what's currently allowed? When would the completion be?
I think 200 or more units. If the absorption was 50 a year, maybe 4 years, maybe less. Our absorption has been better, but we're having a little turn down right now.
Understandably. So if the project's completed with what's currently allowed, say, let's just say 5 years, would there be a reason to hold on to those roadways anymore, or would they just be handed over at that point? And I mean, I'm really just trying to get this dumbed down so I can understand that aspect of it.
Those are decisions that every master developer makes, and there's no reason to retain ownership of roadways if the project is complete. But as I've mentioned to Mr. Cooper, we often expand the projects, and in this case, you can see that's what's happening. And so I guess my legal advice would be don't accomplish that if not otherwise required until you're done. And so the one lady, if you don't mind, a minor expansion onto that, because she asked a very good question, is the rest of Welland Park allowed to use this access to the west? I thought that was a very good question and needs an answer. And the answer to that is that only Pat Neal and his company retain this right. No one else does. And so whoever owns the balance of Welland Park does not have that right.
Okay, thank you. And a follow-up question. Now, I'm not saying that, obviously, I don't believe this was required, and I'm just curious, has anything been disclosed to any previous homeowner in Boca Royale at any time stating that there was like a property that was, it's what the property is, that's going to be it? Was there anything ever disclosed that there may be? So what you're stating is that your company typically does this. So my question is that ever, do you get ahead of it? Do you ever disclose that? Do you take the time to put that in? Notify people when they're purchasing their homes?
Yes, there are disclosures. There are mandatory.
Excuse me, I asked the question and I'm getting my answer. Thank you very much.
There are mandatory disclosures in all of our sales materials that speak to expansion opportunities. And of course, they're all disclosed in the HOA documents, which are mandated to be delivered and signed off on by a buyer or potential buyer. Whether they understand it, I can't speak to, but they have a right to know that. Another point is, I am told, and the person that manages it is here, Ivory Matthews, that there have been many meetings at the clubhouse with full transparency, where Mr. Domingo was invited to speak about construction traffic and traffic on roadways and operational matters. And so all of that was done. And the final point is this. When Mr. Neal acquired the master developer position for Boca Royale, it was a nice project, but it was stalled. And we acquired a bunch of other property within this Boca Royale community, not Welland Park, but within this community, many of which were wetlands at one time or preservation areas. And because those lands were not really wetlands and because they were not really preservation areas, we have expanded the footprint of development within Boca Royale significantly. Significantly. So I understand it's not the piece next door, but inside this original project, we have expanded it by coming to this board and asking for more density or more units, and by platting lands and adding to this community. And so, yes, to the extent that you add home opportunities or lots, you do affect your customers and your neighbors, but this has been a continuous pattern since 2012.
Okay, thank you very much. My next questions are for Mr. Domingo, please. And if we could get the map that we were looking at on the screen, thank you. So my first question has to do with the Boca Royale, the main road. So what we're assuming, what you're asking for here is for traffic to be able to go in from the west to the east into what will be Boca Royale East. Is that correct? Right?
That's
Yes.
correct.
So at that red star on the southwest, yes, that one, will there be any form of a guard gate or anything keeping anyone from Boca Royale from going into Boca Royale East?
Actually, the guard gates are going to be here at 776 and at the other end of, and you, yeah, and I'm making sure, and the other side here, so they're basically interconnected. There won't be a gate between them. They're actually at this outer edge, the eastern edge of Boca Royale East, and the gate will be at 776.
So it will be acting like it would be one large neighborhood where people from Boca Royale would be able to go use access to Welland Park.
That's correct. It is intended to be a two-way street, as it were, and this is also compliant and also generally required in the UDC as well. As you have to interconnect. And a lot of times what you'll see in these developments is they'll stub out because the requirement to interconnect is because they want residential traffic to be use the residential roads and not have to go out onto the thoroughfare plan roads and consume additional capacity for basically what is internal circulation.
So at this point, you're guaranteeing that a guard gate or security gate that would require an access card or a live attendant would be at both ends. So someone from Welland Park that's wanting to cut through that doesn't live there would not be able to do so.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you very much.